Hey there. Welcome to a deep dive curated just for you. We're going to be really dissecting BlackRock's third quarter earnings call from October 13th, 2024.
Mm.
And, we're not just looking at the headlines here. We're going to go deep into the transcript, uncover what's really going on, and most importantly, why it matters to you.
Yeah, it's easy to dismiss these financial reports as, totally irrelevant to our daily lives. But honestly, what's happening with a giant like BlackRock, it can actually tell us a lot about the overall economic climate, which of course affects all of
For
us.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's break it down. BlackRock just posted a record-breaking quarter. We're talking a massive $221 billion in net inflows. To put that in perspective, that's more money than most people see in a lifetime.
In a lifetime, let alone 3 months.
Yeah,
It really is remarkable. Net inflows, just so you know, it represents the net new money that clients are entrusting BlackRock to manage. So this quarter's figures, I think, demonstrate significant confidence in BlackRock's ability to actually grow wealth.
okay, so it's not just about them sitting on this giant pile of cash, right?
Not quite. These inflows, what they mean is more assets under management, which then translates to higher fees for BlackRock, ultimately leading to increased revenue and operating income. So they're not just making money, they're generating substantial profits.
Gotcha. And it sounds like this is not a fluke. Their earnings report also highlighted a 5% organic base fee growth, which sounds promising, but I'll admit I'm not quite sure what that means.
Yeah, essentially organic base fee growth, what that means is that BlackRock is generating more revenue from their existing clientele, the services they offer. They're not just relying on acquiring new customers, so it indicates a healthy and expanding business and a very positive sign for future profitability.
Got it. So they're not just like getting lucky,
Right.
they're demonstrating sustainable growth, which is, impressive for a company of that size.
Absolutely.
Another interesting point from the report was the performance of iShares, their ETF business, which seems to be, it seems to be booming.
Absolutely. iShares is a major player in what we call the ETF space, or exchange traded funds, which have been gaining immense popularity. Just think of them as a more modern and, dare I say, flexible approach to your traditional mutual funds. So BlackRock's iShares is leading the surge in ETF investing, which is a significant win for them.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got record inflows, we've got impressive revenue growth, and this whole ETF wave is working in their
Yeah.
favor. But let's connect the dots here. What does all of this mean for someone who doesn't work on Wall Street? How does BlackRock's success trickle down to impact our everyday lives?
That's the question, right?
Yeah.
BlackRock's success, I think, often reflects broader economic trends. So
Mhm.
when they're thriving, it suggests that investors are feeling confident about the market, right? And they're willing to invest, which in turn can be a sign of economic growth. This growth tends to have a ripple effect, potentially leading to things like job creation, higher wages. It's all interconnected.
So BlackRock's performance can be seen as sort of an economic indicator. If they're doing well,
Hmm.
maybe it's a sign that, we don't need to be overly concerned about a recession.
It's not a guaranteed predictor, of course. The economy is so complex with various factors at play. However, BlackRock's performance, I think, offers a glimpse into that overall market sentiment. It reminds us that even though these financial reports might seem, distant, they can have a real impact on our investments, our financial future.
Totally, totally. Yeah, it's all about understanding the interconnectedness of these what can seem like complex financial happenings with, our own lives.
Mhm.
But we're just scratching the surface here. So we've established that BlackRock, they're experiencing some remarkable growth, right? But here's where things get really interesting to me. They're making, some would say, significant moves into this world of private markets.
Mm.
And I'm not talking about, your local farmers market here.
Right, right. This is, I think, a very notable shift. I mean, when BlackRock makes a move, the financial world, it kind of sits up and takes notice. So what exactly are private markets? Essentially, we're talking about investments in companies or assets that aren't publicly traded on stock exchanges. So
Mhm.
think infrastructure projects, private equity, private credit, those areas that are a little less susceptible to the volatility and the scrutiny sometimes of the stock market.
Okay. So instead of buying stock in a publicly traded company, I could invest in a bridge being built in, I don't know, overseas.
Exactly. Or, a network of renewable energy installations, a promising startup before it, goes public. The possibilities are quite diverse. And the potential for high returns, it's certainly there, but it's important to acknowledge that there are inherent risks, right? Private markets are less liquid, less regulated compared to
Okay.
public markets.
Sure. Higher risk, higher reward, and maybe a little touch of mystery,
A
right?
little bit, yeah.
So why is BlackRock, this company known for its scale and public market presence, why are they so interested in these private markets all of a sudden?
Well, it's not entirely new for them. They've been, gradually increasing their presence in this world. But these recent actions, they demonstrate, I think, a deeper commitment. And one reason, quite frankly, is the potential for growth beyond traditional investments. Remember those massive inflows we talked about that BlackRock is experiencing?
Yeah.
Well, traditional investments, your stocks, your bonds, they may not offer the same level of potential return as these private markets.
So it's like they're seeking out these new avenues for growth. They're venturing beyond the familiar.
Precisely. And there's this growing interest in what they call democratizing access to private markets, basically making them available to a wider range of investors, not just, these big institutions and the ultra wealthy.
So is BlackRock trying to like level the playing field here, give like, the everyday investor a piece of that private market pie?
It's a bit more nuanced. I wouldn't say they're, philanthropists, but they're recognizing a shift in investor demand and adapting their strategies accordingly. It's a business opportunity at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
Responding to a growing market and seeking out those new avenues for growth.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. So how is BlackRock actually diving into this private market pool? What, like, specifically are they doing?
Well, they're making strategic acquisitions, like their recent purchase of Global Infrastructure Partners, or GIP. This deal significantly expanded their infrastructure assets. We're talking about, bridges, roads, airports, the backbone of our physical world.
Wow, so they're investing in like the actual essential infrastructure that keeps our world running.
Essentially, yes. And it's not just about owning these assets, it's about managing them, growing them. Because, these infrastructure projects, they typically generate those long-term stable returns, a very appealing characteristic for investors, especially during, times of economic uncertainty.
Right, right, of course. It's like diversifying beyond your traditional stocks and bonds. You're tapping into like the stability of these physical assets.
Exactly.
Okay. So what other moves are they making in this space?
Another significant acquisition was Preqin, Preqin. It's a leading provider of data and analytics for private markets.
Preqin. Okay. Not exactly a household name.
True, but it's a major, major player in this world. Think of them as like the Bloomberg of private markets. They provide this crucial data and analysis for investors who are, trying to navigate this very complex landscape.
So BlackRock is like arming themselves with information. They're gaining a much deeper understanding of this world that can often be, kind of opaque. It's like they're assembling this team of like, financial detectives almost.
Well, I think it's more about becoming truly data-driven, leveraging that information to make informed decisions, and of course, gain that competitive edge in the world of private markets.
Mm-hmm.
Knowledge, that's power.
Right, right, of course. And it seems that they're not content to just like keep all this knowledge to themselves, right?
Right.
They've talked about making these private markets more accessible to, your everyday investor.
Yeah, absolutely. They've partnered with companies like Partners Group to create investment products that could, provide those individuals with easier access.
Okay. So instead of needing like, vast wealth and a team of advisors, you might be able to like dip your toes into those private markets with a smaller investment.
Potentially.
Interesting. But what's the catch? Are there like hidden risks for, your everyday investor that we should be aware of?
That's the million-dollar question. And the thing is, while the potential for those returns, it exists, private markets are inherently more complex, less liquid. So it's not a decision to be made lightly. Understanding the intricacies, the potential risks, that is crucial. Absolutely crucial before, venturing into this domain.
For sure. For sure. Yeah, it's like any investment, right? Knowledge and just careful consideration are key. I mean, we've covered a lot of ground here. We went from like, record profits to bridges, data analytics, and now this whole move to democratize private markets. What like what stands out to you about all of this? what questions does it raise in your mind? Okay, so we've examined the numbers, we've explored this whole like BlackRock foray into private markets, but like what's the bigger picture here? Where does BlackRock see the financial world like heading?
Well, during, the earnings call, Larry Fink, who's the CEO of BlackRock, he actually provided some really valuable insights into, their vision for the future of finance. I mean, he's not just managing money at this point. He's actively trying to, shape the financial landscape as we know it.
Yeah. And he's I mean he's known for making some pretty bold predictions. So what's his take on all of this?
You know, Fink expressed, I think, a sense of optimism about the long-term growth potential of capital markets, right? However, he particularly emphasized the increasing importance of those private markets, specifically in the global economy.
Okay, so why is that? Like
Yeah.
what makes those private markets so crucial in his view?
Well, I think, what he's recognizing is this significant shift. Governments worldwide, they're grappling with these budget deficits. Traditional banks, they're becoming a little more risk averse, right? So this creates this gap essentially, and it's a gap that private capital is increasingly filling, whether it's funding, essential infrastructure, supporting these emerging technologies, even providing credit. Those private markets are stepping in
Yeah.
where maybe others are a little more hesitant.
So it's like those private markets are becoming a much more, how do I say, integral part of that financial ecosystem. Like they're filling a void that's being left by these traditional players.
Exactly. And Fink actually, he highlighted the need to sort of, I guess, blend both, public and private market investments just for a more, I'd say, robust and diversified approach.
That's really interesting. So he's not saying like one is better than the other. He's advocating for this more integrated approach.
Exactly. Exactly. He sees the value in both, right? Your traditional public markets, they offer that liquidity, that transparency. Whereas those private markets, like we said, they provide access to, potentially higher returns, those different risk profiles.
Yeah.
So blending those approaches, it could lead to, a more resilient and well-rounded portfolio overall.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And of course, no BlackRock discussion would be complete without mentioning technology, right? Like, what role does Fink see technology playing in this sort of evolving financial landscape?
He's very firm in his belief that data and analytics, those are going to be absolutely key to navigating this very complex financial future. I mean, think about it. With so many different investment options out there, right? Across both public and private markets, the ability to really analyze data, assess those risks, identify those opportunities, that's more crucial than ever before.
Yeah, yeah. Which brings us back to their acquisition of Preqin, that private market data powerhouse.
Exactly. I mean, that acquisition just underscores, I think, their commitment to
Mhm.
becoming truly data-driven, right? They're
Yeah,
they're using that information as that strategic advantage in this rapidly evolving landscape.
totally, totally. So to kind of like bring it back to our listeners here, how can we apply these insights? Like all of these BlackRock moves. How can we apply them to maybe our own financial decisions? Like, should we all be rushing out and putting all of our money into these private markets?
I would definitely not say rushing into anything.
Right, of
Yeah.
course, of
Yeah.
course.
It's really about understanding those broader trends and then making those informed decisions from there. Like
Mm.
you've heard, I'm sure, a million times, diversification is key. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? Explore those different asset classes. Consider, what your risk tolerance is and maintain that long-term perspective.
Yeah, solid advice. Any other like takeaways that we should keep in mind from all of this?
Yeah, I mean, stay informed, right? You don't need to become a financial expert overnight, but just, understanding those forces that are shaping the financial world, I think that can empower you to make those better decisions about your money ultimately.
Totally, and that is what this whole deep dive is about. We want to empower you, the listener, with that knowledge, with those insights.
Absolutely.
Any final words of wisdom before we wrap up here?
Yeah, just don't be afraid to ask questions, If you're considering an investment and you don't fully understand it, reach out to a financial advisor. Do your research knowledge, I think, is your most valuable asset.
Love that. Could agree more. Well, as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of BlackRock, one thing is abundantly clear to me. Private markets, they're becoming, a much more, I'd say, prominent force in the financial world.
Hmm.
And while they present all of these potential opportunities, it's important to remember that they also come with their own complexities and risks.
It's a dynamic landscape, requires that careful consideration and, like I said, that balanced approach.
Well said. Thank you all for joining us on this journey into the heart of BlackRock's world. We hope you found it insightful, empowering, and maybe even a little bit entertaining.
It's a fascinating world out there.
It really is. And remember, knowledge is that first step towards making those informed financial decisions. So until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and we'll see you on our next deep dive.